In the middle of the Pacific, something incredible occurred. Reports of a massive object resting on the ocean floor led the authorities to investigate. When they hoisted the giant old plane from the depths, jaws dropped. But the real shock came when they looked inside, setting the stage for an even bigger mystery. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The Navy dispatched a rare crane ship for this unique mission. The situation was deemed highly unusual, prompting the Navy to act quickly. The Navy received a startling call from the cruise ship's captain about a radar anomaly. The cruise crew was baffled by the radar's display, a solid object where none should exist. Realizing its importance, the crew quickly sent the coordinates to the Navy, urging an investigation into the mysterious discovery. When the naval commander saw the radar image, he acted immediately, calling his team to deploy the equipment. The crew worked tirelessly, eager to uncover the mystery. The crew reached the site within hours, lowering the crane's cables into the sea. A diving robot accompanied the cables, its camera streaming footage of the descent. The diving robot streamed live footage of the seafloor as it descended, captivating the crew. The robot continued its descent, passing darting marine creatures that added an eerie beauty. Sonar picked up faint echoes, heightening the tension aboard. "It's enormous," someone said as the camera revealed the plane's full frame. Its fuselage lay partially buried in sand, with wings stretching farther than expected. Awe turned to speculation. No one had anticipated this discovery. Even the captain was momentarily speechless. The plane was massive, sparking endless questions. Maybe it was a private jet, one crew member suggested. To uncover the answers, the plane needed to be lifted. The diving robot carefully secured cables to the aircraft's strongest points before the crane took over. As the operator pulled the lever, the cables retracted, and the plane slowly began to rise from its resting place on the seafloor. As the plane surfaced, it was covered in barnacles and algae, a testament to its long underwater stay. The operation continued slowly but surely, tension high as the plane inched closer to breaking the surface. After half an hour of careful maneuvering, the plane finally broke the surface. "We need to determine its origin," the captain said, already planning the next steps. It was clear the plane had rested on the ocean floor for decades. While examining the fuselage, a faint emblem appeared beneath layers of algae. "Get a camera on this," the captain ordered. It was their first real lead. "To uncover the truth, we need to explore inside," the captain announced. The plane's wings formed a bridge for entry, but the task required courage. Silence followed when he asked for volunteers. Finally, straws were drawn and two names emerged, Rick and Mark. The deck buzzed as they prepared their gear. Rick and Mark, chosen for their composure and skill, accepted without hesitation. The crew watched as the pair climbed down, determination etched on their faces. The ladder ended just above the wing. With cautious steps, they steadied themselves on the slick surface, covered in rust and algae. Each step was treacherous, the silence heavy except for the groans of the metal. "It feels like this thing's holding its breath," Mark muttered. Rick's flashlight cut through the gloom, revealing decayed seats coated with marine silt. They entered through a central gap in the fuselage. The interior was lifeless, long claimed by the sea. As they scanned the cabin, something caught Mark's attention, a rusted tin box beneath a collapsed seat. Inside were a photograph, a pen, and a small notebook, all water damaged. Personal belongings. Then Mark noticed a pendant hanging from a headrest, engraved with ML. The initials hinted at a lost passenger. Rows of numbered seats confirmed it had been a passenger plane. A faint serial number on a chair dated it to 1970. "A passenger flight, mid-century," Rick reported. The mystery deepened. How had it ended up here, hidden for decades? At the rear, tangled wires and broken oxygen masks lay scattered, remnants of chaos. Rick imagined the panic that must have filled this cabin. Mark's expression grew somber. With most of the plane explored, Rick and Mark turned to the cockpit, the only section with an intact door. The door refused to move, rust sealing it tightly. Leaning back with all their strength, they forced it to groan under pressure until, with a final screech, it opened, revealing the cockpit and whatever secrets it held. The small space was packed with aged instruments and wires, the remnants of a world long gone. Inside the rusted metal box lay a plastic bag containing a recorder, miraculously preserved. The men exchanged stunned glances. "This could be it," Rick said quietly. They quickly informed the captain, realizing the magnitude of their discovery. After securing the find, Rick and Mark made their way out, careful not to disturb the fragile wreck. When they reached the ship, the crew greeted them with cheers. The recorder was placed carefully on the table. The captain inserted fresh batteries and noticed a cassette still inside. Slowly, a voice emerged from the static, the pilot of the sunken plane. The pilot explained that on May 2, 1971, he and 52 passengers had encountered a violent storm that crippled the aircraft. Left with no choice, he attempted an emergency landing in the ocean. The crew listened in silence as the recording continued. The pilot recounted how debris from the storm destroyed one of the engines. Despite the odds, he managed to land the plane safely on the water, but the damage was too great. Water began seeping in, and the aircraft started sinking. Calmly, the pilot ordered life rafts to be deployed, ensuring every passenger had a chance to escape. The tape captured muffled footsteps and the ocean's roar as they prepared to abandon the plane. The pilot's voice grew softer. "We had little time, but we stayed calm," he said. He left the recorder behind, sealed inside the cockpit, hoping someone would one day find it. It was his final message to the world. He explained that he planned to lead the survivors toward a nearby island, leaving the recorder with the plane and coordinates of their route. His words carried both courage and hope, even as he faced the unknown. When the tape ended, the control room fell silent. Finally, the captain spoke. "We need to go to those coordinates." Agreement rippled through the room. Without hesitation, they entered the numbers into the navigation system and set course. As they sailed, the crew speculated about the passengers' fate. Some believed they had perished. Others hoped they might have reached land. Dense jungle and jagged cliffs soon filled their view. "This must be it," Mark said cautiously. The captain urged vigilance. "We don't know what we'll find," he warned. The ship slowed as the crew prepared to disembark. The mist-shrouded island loomed larger, both beautiful and foreboding. The team spread out across the beach, searching for signs of life. The jungle loomed ahead, thick and silent. "Let's split into teams," the captain instructed. Rick and Mark led one group inland, their steps careful but resolute. Doubt began to creep in, yet they pressed forward. Then Rick stopped. "Look," he said, pointing to faint footprints in the dirt. "Someone's been here." The tracks led deeper into the jungle, reigniting hope. In a small clearing, they found an abandoned fire pit surrounded by ash and a rough bench of driftwood. "Whoever built this knew how to survive," Rick said, documenting the find. It was the first undeniable proof that survivors had once made this island home. Weathered cloth, broken pottery, and extinguished fires revealed a pattern of long habitation. "Someone lived here," Mark whispered. "But where are they now?" The question lingered like a shadow. A broad clearing opened ahead, surrounded by palms. At its center lay a collapsed shelter, pottery shards, and a blackened fire pit. "This was their camp," Mark said quietly. The survivors had turned this island into a refuge. An uneasy silence fell over the jungle. Mark froze, scanning the shadow. "Do you feel that?" he whispered. Rick nodded. The air thickened, then movement. Figures stepped out from between the trees surrounding the crew. They held crude weapons of wood and stone, their clothing woven from fibers and scrap. "They've adapted," Rick murmured. The figures didn't attack but stood watchful, defensive. The crew realized what they were seeing: descendants of the survivors, still alive after all these years. The jungle fell silent once more, the two groups locked in a tense standoff. The discovery that began beneath the sea had led them to living proof of endurance in the moment that would change everything. The crew raised their hands in peace, uncertain of what awaited them. The people encircling them were of all ages, strong and healthy despite their worn clothing. An older woman stepped forward and gestured for them to follow. With no choice, they complied, walking through a winding jungle path that led to a vast camp. Before them stretched a thriving settlement, wooden huts arranged around a central square, gardens lush with crops, and goats wandering freely. The realization struck hard. This was no primitive tribe, it was a functioning society, one that had lived in total isolation for decades. At the heart of the village stood a large hut where a white-haired man waited at a wooden table. His eyes gleamed with recognition. "You found us," he said softly. "I'm the pilot. Did you find my recording?" He pointed to a faded map on the wall and began recounting their ordeal. After the emergency landing, they had drifted to this island on life rafts, expecting rescue. But as weeks became months, hope faded. They learned to build, hunt, and farm. Engineers, medics, and farmers pooling their knowledge to create a new beginning. "We lost many," he said, his voice firm yet sorrowful. "But we never gave up." Over time, the survivors developed a sustainable way of life, blending modern know-how with the island's resources. They created their own calendar, language, and laws, a self-governing community built from nothing but determination and unity. The pilot explained that most of the original adults were gone, but their children had grown, started families, and built a thriving, self-reliant world. Though proud of their achievements, the pilot admitted a quiet sadness: the world had forgotten them. When the Navy crew offered to bring them home, the village gathered to decide. Some longed to see the outside world, while others feared losing their way of life. "What if we can't adapt?" one woman asked. The pilot spoke with conviction. "We've lived well here, but you deserve a future beyond these shores." His words carried weight, stirring hope and courage in the hesitant hearts of the young. On their final morning, the islanders held a farewell ceremony. Families left behind handmade trinkets to honor the land that had sustained them. As they boarded the rafts, the pilot turned one last time toward the jungle. "This place gave us life," he said, "but now it's time for a new chapter." Over 80 islanders joined the Navy crew. tears mixed with excitement as they sailed toward an unknown future. When the mainland skyline appeared, the younger ones gasped in awe at the towering buildings and endless lights. "This is your future," the pilot said, his voice filled with both pride and nostalgia. The Navy ensured the group received medical care and a warm welcome. The government provided housing in a small town where they could rebuild their lives together. Slowly, they adapted, working in agriculture, construction, and trade. Their unity and resilience helped them thrive once more. Though they embraced their new lives, the island remained forever in their hearts. A year later, the pilot passed away at 90, leaving behind a legacy of strength and compassion. His funeral drew crowds, both islanders and townspeople, who came to honor the man who had guided generations through hardship and hope. Now fully integrated into the modern world, the descendants of the lost passengers carried with them a timeless story of endurance and human spirit, forever grateful for the leader who had turned survival into civilization.